You should be feeling it a little bit today and being like, man, I still feel it. So, let's zoom out. Let's talk about the big picture. We have a test on Friday on chapter 7, okay? If I were you, you can have your homework spiral ready. You can even write down the next homework, which is this homework number 33, 17 to 39 odds. P.S. the evens are bonus. But coming back, that's going to be due. The odds are due tomorrow. The evens are just due by the day of the test. You guys can have them done by tomorrow and show me the bonus evens, or you can have them done for Friday. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically, the evens are bonus for you to practice with at some point in time. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and go to the book right now. It's an online book, and I'm going to show you the sections that you're going to be playing with in your test review. And we're going to remember all of Chapter 7, like the big picture of Chapter 7, before we zoom in on the painful one of last night. Okay? Some of you guys might want to start working on the test review as I'm talking. That's totally fine if you feel super solid and super confident on what we're doing. However, the rest of you, if I were you, I would kind of just take a second with me to remember where we've been. Cool? Chapter 7. Let's go find it. Here we go.
Ooh, I saw that.
This is where your homework is going to start. Do you guys see number 17 right here? This is where your homework starts, because before this in Chapter 7 was the last test. 7-3, 7-2, 7-1. Some of you guys realize that you haven't gotten that back yet. Some people had to take that test a little bit later. And by the time I had it graded, a few days ago, but by the time I had it graded, we were like in the thick of factoring, and I wanted you to stay focused on factoring. So you're actually not going to get those tests back until, I think, Monday. We're going to have a work day as a whole class on test corrections from Chapter 7a. Because some of you, if I give you a test and I ask you to take it home and work on corrections, I never see it again, and then you get a 0 on your corrections, and then you don't get any bonus points for doing corrections. So I think I've just been holding on to them, because as soon as I give them to you, you guys lose them. I think on Monday, after this test on 7b, we'll go back and as a class do corrections on 7a. That's kind of my thought anyway. That's why you haven't seen it, but if you guys want to see that Chapter 7a test, come by my room at any point. I'll show it to you. It's graded. It's done. But we already did the whole adding and subtracting polynomials. We already did the whole like rearranging and multiplying polynomials and doing things like perfect squares, squared, double squared, and FOILing. These differences of squares. So now we're going backwards. So your review starts here in section 7.4. It's not about multiplying, it's about factoring, going backwards. Now, I'm starting in 7.4 because technically, even though that was on the last test, we didn't totally finish 7.4. So, on the last test, question, should you, before we even started this chapter, should you have been able to do the split the Red Sea and solve for these 18, 19, and 20? Yes or no? What do you guys think? Should you have been able to solve this, 18, 19, and 20, before the factoring chapter? Yes. Why? Because they're already what? They're already factored. Look at those parentheses. They're already factored. You can look at the example up here. If you have the factors, you get to split, right? Set each equal to 0 and use algebra to subtract the 6 or to add the 8. Sometimes it's a little bit harder, but use algebra to get x alone, and those are your two solutions. But number 17, where your test review starts, is harder than 18, 19, and 20, because what do you have to do first? Can you split? No. Why not? You need, what are these called?
Parentheses.
You need parentheses, aka you need, how do we get those parentheses? What's the word that we have to do? Factor. So number 17, you would have to factor out a GCF. And guys, in our notes, that's exactly where chapter 7, oh, sorry, that's calculus. You don't want that one. That's exactly where chapter 7 started. I think all about GCFs. Let's check it. GCFs, yeah? It was all about how do you factor out GCFs. So if you look at two terms, figure out what's in common. Factoring out means dividing. So we started off this chapter 7b by looking at how to factor out something in common in every single term. And then Not only did we factor, but sometimes we would also solve. But we would have to factor out the GCF first and then split the red C and let's go. Okay, so that's where your test, I went back to calculus again. That's where your test is going to start, factoring out GCFs and maybe even solving. But then section 7.5, these were the easier ones, the easier trinomials. Why were they easier? What did every single problem in section 7.5 have as the leading coefficient? Okay, somebody was squared, that's true. It wasn't like a nasty third degree, fourth degree. You saw some of those in homework last night, right? They got bigger for some reason. So they were all squared, and what was in front? A 1. A 1 there, a 1 there, a 1 there, a 1 there. So question, when there's a 1 in front. Now, careful, is the book going to do the factoring thing the exact same way? What are they doing? Okay, how do we factor something like this one? If you want, you could be doing an example with me my way for section 7.5 problems, if that helps you. That might help you on homework. We're in the review. You guys are doing these problems for homework. The evens are bonus, the odds are the homework. How would we have factored x squared plus 6x minus 27? What would we have put in our x? Up top. Negative 27. Down bottom. 6. Who would we have been looking for factors of? We're trying to make 6 from factors of? 27. Okay, so what goes into 27? Well, hold on, first of all. Are the signs of these factors, or of the numbers, are they going to be the same or opposite? Opposite. Jeremy, you better start writing, bud. You're not going to stay awake. And then what's the bigger number sign need to be? The bigger number is going to copy that too. So, the bigger number is positive and their opposite signs. The bigger number is positive, so 1 and negative 27 does not work. 2 doesn't go in. 3 and negative 9, I'm making all the bigger numbers negative. Wait a minute, the bigger number needs to be what? Positive. Oh, positive, I have it switched, my bad. Okay, 27 minus 1, no. 9 minus 3, yes. What do we do once we have the negative 3 and the 9? What do we always get to fill in the box in this corner? X squared minus b. The first guy, whoever he is. Good, the x squared. What do I always get to put in this corner? The last guy, whoever he is. And then how do I fill in these guys? They both have x's, but one's a negative 3x and one's a 9x. And how do I get my factors out of my box? I ask myself the question, what is in common? So what's in common? X. What's in common? X. What's in common? Steal the last sign. And then what's in common? Steal the last sign. So, do you guys agree with x minus 3 and x plus 9? But did you go about it the exact same way the book did? No. We did our own method, and I hope that it's easier than whatever that is. So, for section 7.5, what's going to happen? In front, you're always going to have a 1, so the name of the game is just break down that last term, find the correct factors with the correct signs, and then factor out what's in common from your box, and you should have arrived. Now, guys, are any of these solving problems where you're going to have to then split the red sea? No. Why? How can you tell? They didn't keep going for the variable. They didn't get like x equals numbers. And also the directions had what word? Not solve. And what's missing? Every single solve has to have what? Equal sign, yeah. Maybe equals 0, maybe equals like 9 and I have to make it a 0 by subtracting, but equals, it has to have an equals. So I get to stop at these little parentheses and say done. That's section 7.5. What was section 7.6? Factoring. Still factoring, but what changed? Let me get rid of all that markup stuff on my screen. What changed in 7.6? It got a little bit harder. Good. There was a number in front. But for our procedure, now, careful, their table just got a whole lot worse. forget that. For our procedure, what's the only change? There's a number in front. The only change. If you guys want, in your notes, you can write down 7-6 problems that you're going to have to do in your review. And we can do this example together. 5x squared plus 36x plus 7. We're going to do it my way, and you can use that when you do your review. Sorry, what goes up top? 37. Oh, it was a 7. It was only the last term if the trinomial started with a 1. But since it starts with a 5, remember, I've been writing the a times c. Technically, we always have to multiply. So when it was a 1, it didn't change. But now that it's times 5, it will change to 35, right, guys? What's on bottom? 36. Now, I know when I go looking for my factors, I need them to have the same sign. And what same sign is it going to have? Each of them are going to be positive. So, some of you already know what it is because you're looking for factors of 35. Don't I get to stop right away? Because 1 and 35 add to be 36. Now, what changes in the box? Nothing. Who still is going to go in this top left-hand corner? First guy. Who's still going to go in the bottom right-hand corner? Last guy. That doesn't change. But from my x, what do I know are my x terms because that's the variable. I fill in the other boxes. There's a 1x and a 35x. What's that question I always ask myself as I come out, as I factor out? What's in common? So what's in common this way? A 5 and an x. Good. What's in common this way? Just an x. What's in common this way? Just a 1. That's the tricky one. There doesn't seem to be anything in common. And then what's in common that way? You guys agree with x plus 7 and 5x plus 1? Why are we stopping there? Because the name of the game is just factor. Check it. Look at all those test review problems.
Well,
all of them.
That's a lot of test review problems.
But wait. The homework is just odds. If you do the evens, it's bonus. So either way, it's going to be good stuff, right? The homework is half as long.
Okay.
So 25, 27, 29. And if you guys do 26, 28, 30, it's bonus. If I were you, I would probably go through the entire test review doing all the odds, making sure you had time for normal homework. And remember, the bonus isn't due tomorrow. The bonus is due by test day.
Are you sitting?
Huh?
No, I'm just talking.
Oh, you're good. Okay. So I would do the odds first. That way you make sure you get the homework done. And then if you have time, go back and do the evens. And you're also like practicing it a second time. Andrew Bosch, sorry.
I was gonna say, for the bonus, does it count towards like
homework category? Yeah. Which for some of you, a bonus homework. You already had that bonus worksheet. Another bonus homework would be a great idea because you've been absent or late missing. And someone asked me today. I did update. I know a lot of you turned in makeup work. I updated my paper grade book. This afternoon, I'll update my online grade book so that you guys can see it on that web. But guys, the directions for every single one of these, is it factor or is it solve? Factor. So do I get to stop once I get my parentheses? Yeah. Good. Okay. We moved on from section 7.6 to section 7.7. And what did we see in section 7.7? Actually, you're thinking 7.8. We did see some. We just saw the special, guys. Only 4 problems. But there are 2 examples. Adrian, hi. You can't focus and open up your book and do examples with us. There are 2 examples on this one if you guys want to get them ready to go. Remember, we do things a little differently than the book. That's why I'm doing the examples my way. But looking at the special, guys. Jerry, what's up? Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. So, if you're labeling to help on your test review, this is 7.7 test review problems. Here are 2 examples. Difference of squares and a perfect square that's coming. Now, guys, technically, we can make x's for both of them. Alright? This one's probably the easiest one to make the x for. Question, what's going to go up top?
30. Oh, wait, negative 30.
Okay, negative 30 goes on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, 9 goes on top.
9 times?
25.
Remember, there's that number in front. So So 9 times 25. Okay, 9 quarters. We did this yesterday. I think it's 225. Oh, that number's big.
That's a big number.
Now, if you have your calculator,
I'm a calculator.
couldn't you
Yes.
divide by 1 and get, 1 times 225.
You want me to do it or?
Divide by 2. 2 doesn't go in. Divide by 5. Let's divide by 5. And then Jonathan's thinking maybe 15.
Divide by 5?
Divide by 5. 225.
225 divided by 5 is 45.
So if I have 5 and 45, I guess I know that they're going to be the same signs. They're both going to be negative. But negative 5 and negative 45 is negative 50. Try 15. If you divide by 15, 225.
225 and 15? 225 divided by 15 is 15.
Oh, hey. Jonathan, good call. Negative 15 and negative 15 makes negative 30. So, could we fill in the box, or the x, sorry? Yeah. It just might take some time because it's a big number. Divide by 1, divide by 2, divide by 3. You had to get all the way up to divide by 15. 15 plus 15, or I should say negative 15 plus negative 15 helps me out. Right?
This is the bonus. This is the...
And we could take it to the box and we could do our same old, but if we did take it to our box and did our same old, first term, top left, last term, filling in the negative 15 and the negative 15, what's going to happen when you pull out what's in common is going to be a 5x both ways. And it's going to be a negative 3 both ways. It's a little bit harder because the numbers are a little bit bigger. But you're going to end up with the exact same thing, which just a couple of you might see, hey, he's a perfect square, 5x and 5x, and he's a perfect square, 3 and 3. And 5 and 3 is 15, and negative 15 doubled is negative 30, but that's a lot of math that goes into this one. To get to this perfect square, this shortcut, in my mind, is really hard. Going from here to here, or even better yet, here to here to here, I think the shortcut's too hard. I think the x in the box is totally fine, and probably for most of us, the easiest way to solve it. Now, I think the shortcut isn't a great idea on this one to get to our final answer. Our box shows it, and we can get here the same way. But for this guy, maybe the shortcut's a little bit easier for some of you. The shortcut says, whenever I have 2 terms with a minus, it's called the difference of perfect squares. What's the square root of x, guys? X and x. What's the square root of 16? 4 and 4. We get to use that little pattern of a squared. Let me erase that parenthesis. That little shortcut of a squared minus b squared. A squared minus a squared can be factored every single time to be the square root of a squared plus the square root of b squared, and then the exact same square root of a squared minus the square root of b squared. Some of you can jump to this much quicker, and it's a great shortcut. But if you forgot the shortcut, you can still make your x just what's going to be the middle term. 0. Good. You can still make your x just the middle term is 0 because he's missing. So it's not that you can't use the method. You can. Just this guy is the last. The middle is missing, so he must be 0. And then maybe off to the side, you guys would get pretty quickly, since it's a minus, my signs are opposite. Maybe you would get the 4 and the negative 4 pretty quickly and say, oh, it's just negative 4 and 4, or 4 minus 4. You can go to your box. You can fill in your first term like always, last term like always, and then those little middle guys come from what we just filled in, and then factor out what's in common, what's in common, what's in common, and what's in common. You still get x plus 4 and x minus 4. Either way, there's the great shortcut, but then there's also the x. You just need to remember the middle term for this guy is 0. It works. 7-4. Take out some GCFs and remember to split the Red Sea when you have factors. 7-5. Easy trinomial factoring with a 1 in front. 7-6. What do you do with a trinomial with the number in front? 7-7. What do you do with these special dudes? Maybe you just do the x, or maybe you kind of see a shortcut. And then our last section was the painful one of last night that you guys all admitted it got kind of rough. Yeah? So let's check out 7-8 and the example problems for 7-8. I know, it was a painful workout. But why? Because 7-8 says, let's just put it all together. And whenever there's like a put it all together, it can get rough. So, what's one thing that appeared last night in homework? What if you have 4 terms? What's the word that I used yesterday? Grouping, good. So if you have 4, you're going to have to think grouping, which means, like I did with my seating groups, splitting you guys up. I have to split this up. To look at the first 2 and to look at the second 2 and ask myself what is in common. To ask myself what is in common. So, not yet, you're good. Andrew, what I did when I walked in today, when they walked in, I was like, how was homework last night? Painful? And they were like, yeah. So then we just took a step back and said, okay, the point is chapter 7, and we looked at all of chapter 7, and now we're back to the painful 7-8 to be like, what's going on? Is that cool? So, if you have 4, you look at the first 2 and say, what's in common? What's in common with these 2?
The number.
But not just x, isn't it x squared? Because if I was to write the x cubed, he would have x times x times x. If I was to write the 4x squared, see how they both have an x squared? So, take out that x squared. Oh, they did take it out, but remember, when you take it out, when you factor, you're dividing. So they took out an x squared from just the first 2. They grouped them and said, how about you guys? What's in common? Found them. And then x cubed over x squared, there's only 1x left. And 4x squared over x squared, there's only a 4 left. And they did the exact same thing with the next 2 guys. So they said, okay, I had this group plus this group. This group plus this group. And what was in common with this guy was a -3. So divide -3, divide -3. -3 over -3 is a 1x. And -12 over -3 is a positive 4. But how on earth did they go from here to here? What was in common? Yeah, there was that x plus 4 that was in common. So we actually were able to find one more thing in common, looking at the entire problem now, and saying you both had this like hidden x plus 4 guy that I'm going to go ahead and factor out. And when we factor out, we always divide. So when you pull it out, you divide, which takes away the x plus 4, and you divide, which takes away the x plus 4, and all that's left is an x squared minus 3. Dun, 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 dun. Grouping. Okay, so we saw that one yesterday in class. So what was the rest of homework? What do you guys see in both B and C?
Letters.
2x.
A whole lot of letters, right? Like, it's not a square. It's a 4th, and it's a 3rd. Did anybody figure out you were supposed to be looking for G, C, F's? In our notes, I had you guys take a picture at the very end of yesterday. Did you pay attention to it? Oh wait, this is the very beginning of notes. We need to go to section 7.8. I forgot I was showing you section 7.4. Although GCMF? I don't know why there's an M in there. That's weird. I think it's a typo. But coming back down here to the section 7.8, I had you guys take a picture of this page. And let me zoom in. We did look at, like, there's a grouping way of factoring. Some of you guys use it. Most of you just stick with the box and the X. It's the best way to go. This page you took a picture of yesterday. Try to factor, GCMF. I guess it is a type. Greatest common monomial factor. Looking for numbers and for variables. That's the very, 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 very first step of one of these big old everything put together factoring completely problems. Someone was in here yesterday working on algebra, and I was like, Mrs. Leon would be proud because it's a big mama problem. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on. What would be the GCF of this guy?
4.
There is a 4? But you're looking for monomials. Yeah, a squared, right? So then we would have factored out the 4a squared. When we factor out, we divide. And what would have been left? Well, this guy's in front now. What's left after No. Divide. What's 36 divided by 4?
9.
9. Good. 9, and then how many a's? A to the power of 2. Minus, what's left when you divide something by itself?
1.
1. We're done! No, we're not. Because it's a big mama problem, and we can keep going. Doesn't this look like a section 7.7 difference of squares? At the very end of the chapter, you might do the first step, and then need to do the second step. Look for, stop messing with this stuff. Look for the special ones. Is there a special guide? Yeah. Oh, stink. Well, did any of you guys figure out this shortcut when I showed it just a couple minutes ago? There is a way to do the x, and we could go ahead and multiply and throw in this and put a 0 in the bottom.
Yeah.
But you could also take a square root. 3 and? Do you see it? So 3a and 3a. What's the square root of 1? And then what are my signs for these special ones? A plus and a minus. GCF was first. We weren't done. We had to keep going. That's what section 7.8 is. You do one thing and you might have to do another. And if you weren't done, you might have to do another. And then there might be an equals and you might have to do another.
And another.
It just depends. So coming back to the review. I think I have it here, right? So we did this one. That was the nasty 4, and you have to do grouping. This guy doesn't look all that bad, but does he have a GCF?
Yes.
Yes. So what did they pull out? Do you guys see how they both had a 2x squared? So they would have had to pull that out. And I show it by division. Do you see how they got a 4? And how they got, well, the 2's go away, an x squared? But they weren't done. What did they have to do? Keep going. You had a difference of perfect squares, which became an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. And then they were done. Why are they stopping? Because the directions say factor. Just factor. Get the parentheses and you're done. But go as far as possible, which is why these say factor how? Completely. You got to keep going until you're done. So how about letter C? He's not a difference of perfect squares. What's going on there? What else does this little table thing say? Factor out a GCF. Oh, we didn't look for that yet. Look for a difference of squares. And then just factor like normal. Maybe this guy's one of those factor like normal guys. So, anything in common, guys? 2. Good. They're all even numbers. And, okay, they all have an
9.
close. These two have a
X.
9. He doesn't, but they all have an x. So they all have a 2, and then they all have at least one x. Do you guys see the 2x that came out? And that stuck around all the way to the end? When we pull out a 2x, remember, we have to divide, so just in case some of you get a little stuck as to what happened. But we end up with an x squared and a 9x and then a 36. But are we done? Nope. What do we have to do? To finish the problem. We have to take this guy and factor him like we would in a separate problem, right? So we could come off to the side and we can put in our negative 36 times 1. That's okay, we can remember that. Times 1, what's in front? The 2x is his own separate entity. We have our 9 down here. Maybe some of you pretty quickly are thinking of factors of 36 dividing by 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Man, everything goes into this guy. 6. But remember, we're looking for opposite signs with the bigger one being positive. Anybody found, opposite signs? Oh, that's a bummer. I was going to do 4 and 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. But those aren't opposite signs. How about 3 and 12? Oh, that makes 9 also. Remember, sometimes there's more than one way to add, and we have to make sure it works multiplying up and adding down. So then we would go ahead and throw in our box. And guys, this is the last example. What's going to go in this corner?
Negative 36.
Careful, that's down here. The last one goes bottom right.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean.
There you go. Does that make sense? And then these are both x terms, but what are their coefficients? Where do they come from? And then what do you ask yourself as you come out of the box? What's the greatest common factor? So x, what's the number that's in common? But, yeah, pull out that last sign, and then pull out the last sign positive, but positive what? 12. Do you see how they got x minus 3 and x plus 12?
Yes.
But they had to put it with the GCF of 2x. What would change? What would change if they had taken this exact same problem and instead they had said solve? That's where we're ending today. Because factoring is not the only word that you're going to see tomorrow. Sorry, Friday on the test. You're also going to see the word solve. So what if they gave you that 2x cubed minus 18?
45.
X squared. That was a plus, right? And then minus 72. Thanks, Levi. And then they put an equals 0. You would have pulled out that 2x, just like we did. You would have gotten the x squared plus 9x minus 36. You just would have had to write equals 0 at the very, very end. You would have taken this off to the side and done the x method and eventually gotten x plus 12 and x minus 3 equals 0. But would you have been done if this was your direction? Would you have been done? No. You would have had to say, sweet, I have my factors, but let's go back to section 7. We're going full circle, guys. If I were to take away all of this writing and go back to the very beginning of the test review, wherever it is, if I can get back there. Come on. Here we go. What were you supposed to do once you have factors equal to 0? You know how to get this yourselves now. But how do you finish? Split them up, right? So we're going to split them up right here. So split them up. I need 2x to be 0 to give me one option. I need x plus 12 to give me another option. And I need x minus 3 to give me another option. Algebraically, how do I get x by itself? Come on, home stretch. We're right here. So x, that's one option. What else? Algebraically. That's another option, but I'm not done yet because I have this guy. How do I get it? Divide by 2. Now am I done? Test. 2 directions. Factor or solve. And even solving might need factoring. So we're going to go grade section 7.8, the scary homework from last night. Wait a minute. What was true about section 7.8 and the homework from last night? Every single type of problem was odd, wasn't it? Since it wasn't odd, since it wasn't odd, that means that every single answer was in the back of the book. Some of you have already graded this, and you're ready to ask me questions on one thing. You're like, I don't know. I felt it. It was hard, and I didn't know what to do. And I got stuck. You had like X's and Y's, and you had GCFs, and you had one that was unfactorable. Like, what on this? Stupid book. Anyway, the test will not have any unfactorable ones, but the book did. Some of you have questions that you want to ask me. Some of you haven't quite graded yet. So anyway, I have the answers up here. Let's talk about questions that you have. If you're like, I have no questions, why not? Pull up your book and then start working on 17 to 39 odds. Or quietly come over here. I think I have 3 extra math books. You can borrow a book and start working. I'm going to put it on the screen in just a second so that you guys can work. I'll put some problems up from homework. But for right now. Jonathan, what's your question? And then let's see if anyone has homework questions. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any homework questions from last night? Because, man, guys, they got rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, scroll down. gonna write them over here in the sideboard if that's okay. Andrew Bush.
19, 21.
15, 19, 21. Anything else you want to see? There were some nasty ones. I know it got hard. Nice thing is the test won't be all the bad ones. Do you have one, Kayla? 23.
All of them.
Gotta give me more. Okay, scroll down to find the bottom. There you go.
Oh, we're starting home now.
Yeah, we're doing homework. Yeah.
Well, I have a question on our bottom.
Yeah, which one?
Number 25. For tonight's homework. So, I don't know how you can time this, right? So, if you're trying to get this.
Oh, he bought himself.
Alright guys, you can grade down homework, but we're doing a few questions. So, here's what you need to do first. Some of you might start doing the review, and if you do, you put away your old homework, and I need to grade it. So let me walk around really quickly. I have all of the odds up to number 33 on the board. Let me see the one from last night. If it's on your desk, I'll give you credit. If it's attempted well.
Now my knee hurts.
Did you not say that?
What?
That's you did not say that.
No,
He's not trying to do that. Oh, yeah, you stink.
Adrian?
I'm not even gonna say what you just said. I'm not even gonna say what you just said, bro. It's hot.
can't see. That's circle.
You do want to look at those ones for the test, because that's like solving. I'll give you credit.
Yeah.
You did odd answers, right?
Come on, man.
What are you doing?
I remember last year. I understand if you every single
Yeah.
no, like you should have like
You and Matt should be walking Halloween.
Yeah, because I'm around. Kept talking.
you haven't got it.
I didn't take my permit. They said you failed it. You failed it? I didn't even fail mine. How? It's easy. I didn't even, my mom tells me I need to read the book, but I don't want to read the book. Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no. Yeah. Or just do all the online ones.
Well, yeah, I would have to do my time.
Yeah, you do all the online quizzes?
Yeah.
I'm doing that too. I'm
It's
taking my.
not hard, it's just tricky. Like
No, dude, like the way they word the questions is
yeah.
weird.
Oh yeah. I took it like 3 times. I've been taking like.
It is, I didn't read it yet, but I had some
I feel like in the other shutdown.
See, if I do that, no, if it's driver's ed, like the online thing, then you don't have to worry. But if it's like for the DMV, for the permit, then you have to register. I thought it'd be like
It's literally not fun.
I wanted to, yeah, it's,
And if you take it 3 times, you
for what?
When you taking your phone there?
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna do
I did my driving.
oh yeah.
I'm trying to get my boating license. Your bowling license? My boating. Boating? Boating? You guys know about boats? Boat license? So you could drive like a boat or jet ski. What?
You only need that in 20 years.
I don't even want to say the joke
Yeah.
I had in mind.
So if you're on an exam, then if you get it right now and you're fine, then you don't have to take it next year. You can still drive. Oh yeah, the next test.
What jokes do you have? What joke? Huh? Are you just trying to like flex about where you live? I live in Sacramento. I live in Sacramento. I live in Sacramento. That's like right next to somewhere. Oh my God. It's Sacramento.
No, but it's like
What? Is it a house or I got a big backyard.
Alright guys, there were a lot of you that got stuck on 31 and 33. Like tons of you. Did not like 31 and 33.
I'm not hating. I'm not even no, I can't even do that.
Hey guys, I would love. Alright. I would love to not change the homework assignment and be 17 to 40 all. No more bonus. But I need you guys to focus for me to keep that reward in place. Okay? The bonus for evens, Adrian, don't ruin it for your class then. I really don't want to double homework and make it required in that bonus, okay? So I want to keep it the way it is, but to do so, almost the entire class was stuck on 31 and 30, and then there were some nasty ones earlier, like 25 and 15. I might not be able to go over all of them today, but I did see that tons of you were like, hmm? Okay, 31 was actually so easy, it was hard. Because 31 was saying find the factors, or actually the zeros, and technically all you had to do was remember something from way back in section 7.4, that the zeros are the x's where the graph hits the x-axis. So it was as easy as drawing a sketch and being like, hey, the zeros are going to be at 0, and who's this guy that's in between 3 and 5? It was just looking at the graph. Yeah, it was just weird, right? Like, it's so easy, it's hard. You're like, I've been doing all this factoring junk. Like, what's been, okay. But 33 is a bit more more normal because 33 looks like one of the problems that we should know how to do. So in number 33, just to end off class, we have a couple minutes left. Do you see that 33 has 4? And if there's 4, what words do you think of? You're close. Grouping. Yeah, and maybe a GCF if there is one, but they don't all. Guys, please. I want to give you a bonus homework, and I don't want to make your lives awful, but you're now making my life awful. We have 4 in this moment. I was honest. We have 4. They don't all have A's. They don't all have numbers. So what did they do? They grouped. What was in common with these two? A square, an A square. They divided and what was left. What was in common in these two? Where did the negatives go?
4.
It's wrong. Where did the negatives go? Should have gone right there. What was their mistake? They pulled out a 6, but not the right 6. That was the difference. Should have been a negative 6. Your homework tonight. There are some easy ones. Enjoy going back in chapter 7. We'll talk about 4E, the harder ones tomorrow.
Oh! That's spicy, bro. Little bones.
I know, I like that.
Good. I'll hook you guys up. Have fun.